All right, y'all, welcome back to the channel. It's been a couple years since I've done a video on football. This whole Aaron Rodgers situation, I'm seeing lots of internet talking heads, well, TV talking heads, different ESPN, Fox, those shows, with a lot of misinformation, I think, deliberately. And you know, my previous videos were around the Chiefs Eagles first Super Bowl with like the holding call and stuff like that, where there's clear in the rules what's happening, camera angles, you can see the hold, everyone knows what's going on, and then people get on TV and say like, oh, it's pass interferences. It's like it wasn't like it was such a ridiculous thing. And this Aaron Rodgers stuff is the exact same line. So I'm hoping this is only going to be about a 15-minute video to just be a one-stop shop for the whole picture on what the Aaron Rodgers situation is. And I'm going to break that down for you guys. And I have a couple different reports here of who's saying what and when, and how you guys can put that into perspective to understand what's going on. So first, let's just watch the interview here on McAfee Show, and we'll just get his perspective, okay?
You mentioned the Jets. What was that meeting like? We heard, isn't that where they said, hey, you can't come on the Pat McAfee show?
No, but that was debunked later.
Oh, of course. But I'm saying, how was that meeting? You mentioned, oh, we'll get back to this. Sounds like you want to talk about it. What was it?
Well, maybe that was hypothesized as something that was going to be part of a conversation. Is the internet good? Are we good here?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I'm sure they're trying to shut this part down, but you know, listen.
He's talking about a previous report that it was come out that the Jets had a meeting with him, and they said you can't do the McAfee show. You had these different demands, and then he's like, "Screw you guys, I'm going home." That was the report from, I don't know, 2 months ago.
And that was an interesting 2 years, to say the least. But, you know, I figured.
As you guys have heard from, I think it was The Athletic or some other reports, the Jets owner's son was in the locker room giving out game balls to people that he just wanted to give game balls to, and not in relation to who actually performed, I believe was the controversy there. But anyway, he's like a 17-year-old kid in the locker room making this coaching decisions, all weird stuff. The whole situation with the Jets has been crazy if you guys are following it.
That when I flew across country on my own dime, that there was going to be a conversation. And the confusing thing to me and the strange thing was, you know, when I went out there, I meet with the coach. We start talking.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
See, they don't want this. They don't want this.
No, you're back. You're back. You're back.
They
You're
don't want
back.
this out there. They don't want this out there right now.
You're back.
So where'd I leave you there?
You meet with the coach. You meet with the coach.
We start talking. He runs out of the room. I'm like, that's kind of strange. I was like, then he comes back with the GM. And I'm like, all right. So we sit down in the office. And I think we're going to have this long conversation. I've flown across the country. And 20 seconds in, he goes, I mean, literally, I'm talking to the GM about something, and he leans to the edge of his seat and goes, so do you want to play football?
So the way I'm interpreting this is almost like he interrupts the conversation. I just want to kind of make that clear. Aaron Rodgers is posing this as he's having a conversation with the two of them, but he's talking to the GM, and he just is like interjecting into the conversation in the middle of something. That's how I perceive this.
I was like, yeah, I'm interested. And he said, we're going a different direction at quarterback.
He says he's interested. You'll hear some people online saying that, oh, I'm interested, like he's, you know, not all in or whatever. He doesn't know Coach Glenn. He doesn't know his plans for the team. He doesn't know what roster moves they plan on making. Remember, like, his O-line was terrible. Like, they have a lot of off-season decisions to make, right? So he's interested in playing, but he doesn't know if the Jets are the right team for him. That's what I'm interested means. Not, oh, maybe, right? I mean, as in, I'm only halfway in. If they have the right plan, he's in. Just like any team. He's a free agent. The teams are courting him, not the other way around.
Back. And I said, and I was kind of shocked. Now, not shocked because I didn't think that was a possibility. Listen.
He knows it's a possibility. He's a free agent. He's been cut from Green Bay or traded from Green Bay, told that he wasn't wanted anymore. He was gonna go on the draft show for McAfee when they drafted Aaron Rodgers or when they drafted Jordan Love, right? So he knows he. Some people are posting like, oh, he's never been fired before, which I'll show you in a clip later from Tannenbaum. Yes, he has. He got told for the Packers essentially they didn't want him. And you'll see Tannenbaum makes my point for some of this. He said, like, you got to FaceTime me because I don't have signal at my house. And all my people know this. You got to FaceTime me because he doesn't know how to use Wi-Fi calling, which McAfee's called out before as a funny point. But you got to use FaceTime to use the Wi-Fi because you can't call him on his phone because he doesn't have, you know, like 4G signal or whatever. So you'll see here, he's like, you could have done this over the phone. And people are saying that, oh, if they called him on the phone, he would have. Well, he has a history of saying to call him on the phone. It's well documented in the Aaron Rodgers saga. So that's not an argument that I'm hearing from people like Molly and Tannenbaum and Devin McCourty. All right.
And of course, they want to move on. That's totally fine. But shocked because I just flew across country. You could have told me this on the phone. If we weren't even going to have a conversation, and this is verbatim exactly how it happened. So I said, huh? And he goes, we just want to know how you want it released, the messaging. And I said, verbatim, I don't give a shit about the message. And I said, why? And then he said, I don't want to be up in front of the room saying something and have guys looking back at you.
To me, that's a self-conscious leader. You're already going in without enough self-confidence to know that you're going to have the locker room, and to think that a veteran like this, who's done a coaching change with LaFleur already, and done a coaching change with the Jets already, who has gone on the record and saying that, like, he didn't want to get the coach fired. He thought the coach was doing good things. He didn't want, old Baldy to go back to San Francisco. That he's on the record being a good teammate there. Now, we don't know what went on behind the closed doors, but we can only comment about what we know, right? And he's saying here already, oh, I don't want you on the team because you might undermine my position. It's like, first of all, as a first-time head coach, wouldn't you want a first-ballot Hall of Famer, 4-time MVP, one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever play the position, to maybe bounce some things off of, make sure you're, running things the right way, have a veteran in the locker room that people can go to. McAfee talks all the time that, like, he was the guy as a punter that the players could go to be like, hey, can you talk to coach about this or an ownership about this? Because he was like a liaison. And your OGs in the locker room do that stuff.
Interesting.
And I said, what does that even mean? Are you assuming that I would be in the back of the room during a team meeting undermining what you're saying? I said, you don't know me. And he said, you don't know me. And then I said, exactly. Which is why I flew across the country to have a face-to-face meeting with you to talk about my experience with the Jets and to hear your vision for the team.
Vision for the team.
20 seconds in. What I thought was going to be a couple-hour meeting turned into like a 15-minute meeting, and I walked out of there. But
so at that moment,
that was a strange meeting for sure. There was no me pleading like, please have me on the team. No,
I don't know.
Or, I don't want any part of that. It was already a debacle in some cases. Listen,
That's why he wanted your vision for the team was important. I didn't want any part of that. It was a debacle. He's saying it. That's why he's interested, because he wants to know what the plan is first here at this crazy place.
That whole situation was crazy, and I think even that was a little rogue by the head coach, because I talked to the GM later about it. Christopher Johnson called me. Chris is a fantastic guy. Anybody that's ever met Christopher Johnson says the same thing. He's a phenomenal dude. He's about the right stuff. He's a sweet human being, and I'm thankful that I got to meet him and Doris, because their friendship was a big bright spot in the organization. And there's a lot of great dudes there. There's great players there, great humans. There's great, guys in the equipment room, training room, Carmen and Maddie in the nutrition department, all the strength staff. There's a lot of great dudes there. But there's
Christopher Johnson is one of I believe he's part of the Johnson & Johnson family that owns the Jets and is executive with the Jets right now.
There's some things that need to get fixed over there.
Yeah, it didn't go well, obviously. There was high hopes and dreams by
He was talking about the things that needs to get fixed over there.
Jets fans, Jets organization, and you, which I think gets forgotten about. You had great visions of going over to New York and with the Jets and leading them to victory for the first time, long time. That ends up not happening. Then the exit, obviously, with new GM, new coach, as you said, seemingly a possibility. Regardless, the way it went about it, didn't expect it. So when you leave that meeting,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, I wasn't surprised that they wanted to move on, but like, why would you not pick my brain? I'm there to talk to you about.
This is a very important part of off-season exit meetings. A lot of times you'll hear about exit meetings with what needs to happen with coaching staff and players at the end of seasons. When people talk about if you ever listen to interviews with what do you do after the season? How's that end? What's it like? And they talk about going to exit meetings and going. So there's all these kind of debriefs after the season with all the different players and position groups and coaches to kind of figure out what went right, what went wrong, and how to build for the next season. And he's expecting to be part of that, because even if he's not going back to play, he knows that part of his job as a leader of the team and having a lot of experience is to help the team, especially with new management coming in. Hey, these are the things we struggled with. These are the things that went good. He's about to explain this, so I'll just let him talk on that. But that's important to remember, and what this process normally is and what he's expecting out of this meeting. This is a huge part of what he's expecting out of the meeting, and no one is talking about this. And that's one of the huge reasons why I'm making this video.
About the team and about things that I think can get better and things that are good and players that have leadership possibilities and anything. I mean, I've been in the league 20 years. Any type of conversation, there was none. There was none.
Okay, so
that was strange.
Okay, so you leave the building,
very strange,
probably in I would assume a little bit of a mood. You get on a plane to fly back across the country. During that flight,
he probably had those conversations with existing staff at the time the season ended, but not with the new staff that came in.
Are you now contemplating future of ball there?
I assume that, because that's normal to have those exit meetings. But he's expecting to have that with the new staff that comes in so they can do their own due diligence, right?
Or when does that kind of set in? Is there a conversation about don't want to go out like this? Or is this a sign from universe God that maybe my football life is does that expedite the conversation of what your future looks like in football? Does it slow it down? How does that kind of affect what would then happen after that meeting takes place and you become a free agent for the first time basically in your career?
Well, first of all, I told my pilots, hey, have a good night, have some beers. This is going to be a long meeting. Sure, we might even have dinner. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a good, I'm excited about this meeting. So walking out of there, 25 minutes, this was 40 minutes because I saw Vito and Gus in the training room. I saw Dave Zuffalato, awesome trainer there. Got to talk to him. So I was there maybe about 40 minutes at one Jets drive. Then I drove home, had some conversations with some people there, including Christopher. But the next day when I left, I was just thinking, hey, that's the closing of that chapter. There's so many beautiful things about the 2 years that I had there. Obviously, most of them off the field, but but no, I wasn't upset about it. I was surprised. I felt like there wasn't an ample amount of respect in that meeting. But I guess I shouldn't have been surprised based on some of the things I saw over the 2 years. But I am thankful for my time with the Jets. I'm disappointed it didn't work out better on the field, but it didn't damper anything. I just thought, okay, well, now I have a chance to talk to other teams and see what's out there, and then also time to contemplate my own future.
So what you didn't get a lot of here is his reasons for not signing with Pittsburgh right away. And he said he has a committed relationship. He's made commitments to things in the offseason already that take his time. So, for example, when he went to Egypt last year and everybody's freaking out because he missed 2 days of training camp, or like OTAs even, I think it was. He's like, okay, I'm not going to do that to a new team. I've already made commitments. I'm going to have those interrupt football activities, so I'm not going to be drama, right? He's actively trying to not be dramatic, and they're painting him as a drama llama. He also said that he has some people close to him in his life that are going through stuff right now. He didn't say whether it was the fires, maybe they're rebuilding, maybe it's sickness or issues, maybe it's just family drama stuff that needs to be taken care of, or who he specifically said on the show that he didn't want to say it and told Pat not to divulge that information because Pat knows it. And Pat was saying, like, I feel like I need to say this, like, for you. He's like, no, it's nobody's business. And we know Rodgers is a private guy, so that's why he feels like if he doesn't commit to a team because he can't put that full effort behind that, and he doesn't know when he's going to be available. And he said that all the teams he's met with, he was upfront and honest about all of that. And if you choose not to believe him, that's fine, but you have an explanation. No one's holding people hostage or any of this weird stuff you're hearing online. Now let's hear one of the most sane takes about that part of it from Nick Wright.
If we take Rodgers at his word, which is sometimes difficult to do, it is instructive because Rodgers was adamant he does not care what anyone thinks about him. Yet, despite that, he wanted to do this a week before the draft, no less, and he wanted to make clear to the entire world, the one specific we got is, I'll play for $10 million.
That's true. It wasn't a PFT report, it was an athletic report that he was looking at like $100 million. He was wanting like a top flight contract for this. And people were like, oh my gosh, like that seems like a lot. And then Aaron Rodgers came out and said he's only looking for $10 million. Only $10 million, right? And I feel like not very many people are touching on that in the sports media world, that all these reports on his money were completely wrong, as well as the reports on his Jets meeting, by the way.
And so whether or not that is Aaron Rodgers hitting the Aaron Rodgers bat signal of, hey, any teams that maybe were on the fence, that maybe I think are a better option than the one team that has been holding a space for me, Pittsburgh, just $10 million. He said he doesn't care what anyone thinks.
That's true. I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but it's what he did, essentially. Whether it's Mahomes goes down in preseason or something dumb, right? If Tua gets hurt again, if Josh Allen goes down, Herbert, any of these top flight guys that are looking at making runs this year, if Burrow always has something wrong, right? Rodgers can step in training camp or early in the season, whatever, and be like, I'm a Hall of Fame guy. Just give me the offense and let's go to work. Like I have the talent to get it done. So he's not wrong there. And then what you're seeing right here with no one's just heard this. We'll get to that in a second because I think he's right, but it's also exactly what Rodgers is saying.
thinks about him, so you usually do media to get your message out there, and if you don't care what the public thinks or what media is saying, then you're talking to the teams.
100% right. However, he's not attributing this to like Rodgers necessarily caring a lot, but Rodgers was told by his sister and another close friend of his, I think his name was Tom, something like that. Hey, there's a lot of rumors going on right now. It's starting to reach critical mass. So like, time to set the record straight. So Rodgers basically called back and was like, hey, time to set the record straight. Let's get on the show. Because he is on the record of saying, I don't pay attention. I don't watch the media. I'm unplugged. He doesn't touch his phone for days at a time. He's just out on the beach watching the Dolphins, right? And it's the other people that are close in his life that get a hold of him and say, hey, there's a lot of things going on. Like, he's taking hits that are just straight, like, that are totally out of pocket, that shouldn't be shot at him at all. So that's why he's setting the record straight. It's not necessarily about him. It's about letting all the people know. Because all the people need to have the right information, because the fake, he's someone that's been fighting the fake news for a long time to him, right? All the COVID stuff, right? He's been after the fake news this whole time. So when he hears there's all this bad information out about him, it's about like combating that, not about saving face, because he doesn't care. So I think there's a two-sided coin to what Nick just said right there that I think is important.
And so then I will follow suit and also talk to the teams. No one should sign him this offseason. He is very clear and seemingly being honest. He has a ton going on in his personal life. The reason he doesn't want to commit to a team right now is he thinks it would be unfair when he has this much going on in his personal life. And what I was reading there is he doesn't know what part of the offseason he's going to be available for because of the things going on in his personal life, and didn't want to sign with the team and then miss stuff. Fine, so be it.
Exactly.
At this point in his career, with this mealy-mouthed level of commitment, I would simply say, yeah, we're going to make plans otherwise.
And they should.
And, maybe revisit it if our quarterback gets hurt during the years, nothing coaches talked about. But I would...
Or if Shedeur doesn't fall to the Steelers, or if they get Shedeur or Dart or whoever in, and they're in minicamp, rookie camp, right? And they're like, this guy's rougher than we thought, or whatever the case may be, they can always call Rodgers and he's only $10 million away, right?
Would not feel...
And by the way, is on the record and made a whole documentary about with Enigma on Netflix about being a good mentor to the next guy up, even because he felt like Brett Favre didn't care about him and about mentoring him, and he wanted to do better, and so he made a whole documentary about trying to do better than what was done to him, and turns out Love is doing pretty decent. So I think he would be a great fit in Pittsburgh to mentor a rookie.
Comfortable if I were any team saying Aaron Rodgers is going to be my week 1 starting quarterback going into the year, that's my plan. I wouldn't do that.
It should not, and it shouldn't be your plan right now. All right. So that's the contract. That's Nick Wright, and now let's hear from. This is John Middlecoff. He is on Cowherd a lot, and this is just a short that we'll hear him say exactly the opposite of what Aaron Rodgers said, and then we'll hear Mike Tannenbaum say the same thing.
The big headline that's going viral is the Aaron Glenn. And, Aaron, I think, dramatized. Now, in his point of view, Aaron Rodgers has never been fired, right? Aaron Rodgers has never been fired. In a business where everyone gets fired. And for Aaron, who has lived a pretty good life, right? So he gets called into the office. And did it happen smoothly? Who knows? Is it ever easy to tell someone, like, you're done? That just rattles the situations. It's going to be awkward. Like, welcome to the club, Aaron. People get fired in the NFL.
Right.
And it took 20 plus
cut while in darkness
years for this guy's career for it to happen.
This is such a... That's the worst take. Almost everything he said was inaccurate. Or unnecessary. Because the whole concept was he's never been fired before. He's never had this situation before. Yes, he had. He went through it in Green Bay. He's on the record of saying, like, what the heck happened? You could have called me. You should have called me, right? On the FaceTime. Here's Tannenbaum, who, by the way, Mike Tannenbaum's group, I forget what it's called, like Team 32 or something, is the group that that was contracted by the Jets to find their head coach. And they settled on Aaron Glenn. So this is Mike Tannenbaum's ridiculous take, similar to Meadowkoff's.
I've been on both sides of really hard conversations in my career, and every year when you're running a team, you're cutting 37 people. It's never easy. There's no textbook right way of doing it. But I agree with what Molly just said, Stephen. From this standpoint, if we were sitting here today and Aaron Rodgers goes on Pat McAfee and say, you know what, the Jets called me. They couldn't even look me in the eye. Then, we'd be talking about how come they didn't meet in person. And
he's going to contradict himself right here with the exact argument that everyone knows from the Green Bay saga. Right?
If you remember, when he left the Packers, there was all the whole thing of they try to call, but people know you can only FaceTime me because I don't get good reception. So it's just...
So why did you just bring up the other thing of, oh, well, if they had talked to him, he wouldn't have won. It would have been different. He just said that's the way he would have preferred to do it with a FaceTime. This guy is hardcore cope right now, and he's about to say why he thinks that because he's super insecure about Glenn.
It's been very noisy. These conversations aren't easy. I do think, to Molly's point, that, hey, let's get on the same page so we can exit this relationship in the most appropriate way possible. And look, I was part of hiring Aaron Glenn. I think he's going to do great. I've known him for 28 years as a player, as a scout, and now as a head coach. He made what to...
It's in his best interest for him and his company, or at least company that he works for as a part of some sort, don't know that he owns it, that Aaron Glenn looks good and Aaron Rodgers looks bad. It's in his... He's financially motivated, career motivated for that. To have him on this show for this take is absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. It's like having a lion on about eating the gazelle, right? It's totally crazy. It's the wrong perspective.
To me, was the right decision, not the easy one. That really is the headline. They picked Justin Fields, which right now looks like I'm really intrigued to see how well.
Yeah, we're really intrigued to see how Justin Fields has done since he's failed everywhere else he's been.
He could do in New York, and they closed the chapter. And I think part of it, from a human nature standpoint, just to be candid, is an iconic player was told by a new head coach and a new GM, we're not interested. And I'm sure that stung Aaron Rodgers. He's human. He heard from his boss they no longer wanted him. So maybe part of what he was saying was, boy, that really hurt me. That was disappointing to hear that I was no longer wanted.
Absolutely. He just told you. Like, all you had to do was watch. All you had to do was watch the interview. From listening to Tannenbaum's take, it's almost like he heard there was an Aaron Rodgers presser, right? And he goes on to refute it, and he has no idea what he's refuting. Because nothing that he said makes any sense. Nothing that he said makes any sense. He directly contradicted the oh, well, if we called him, he would have said, oh, they did only called me. They didn't have the guts to do it in He contradicted his own point, right? If you guys have seen my GTA lawyer stuff, like, I have this guy on the stand in circles, getting my guy released, right? Like, this is insane. That's such a crazy take. And then to watch Aaron Rodgers say, like, hey, it's not about whether they release me or they don't release me. It's about, like, all the actions and all the steps that it takes as a new administration coming in to know, hey, what do we have to work with here? And what's with the team? And you didn't want any of that information? that Rodgers had, and because he has to defend Aaron Glenn. It's a mistake by Aaron Glenn to not have as much information as possible and to basically tell him don't let the door hit you on the way out, and he has to cover for his coaching decision because he hired him. That seems pretty obvious to me. I don't know. You guys make your own choices. Now we're going to listen to James Jones defend him a little bit here, just so we know that not everybody's crazy. Nick Wright had a decent take. James Jones, and basically the facility had Acho, I thought was wrong, but for different reasons.
Yes, he got disrespected. My man got a phone over there. This is a Hall of Fame player, right? This is disrespect at its finest, right? So Aaron Rodgers, I don't care about him spending his money. My dog got a lot of money. He could buy a Southwest ticket, Marriott, whatever, private jet, whatever, get there for the meeting. But to get there for the meeting and for you to disrespect this man like that is crazy to me. You know, I learned a lot from y'all up here because I listened a lot. And one thing my dog Shady says is he don't judge people. Right? Neither do I.
Okay.
When I went to Green Bay, I met with the GM, and I was told to stay away from certain people in the locker room. And I said, you know what?
Not necessarily Rodgers, just certain people. This clip I've seen getting taken out of context a few places.
Ted Thompson, rest in peace. That's not how I'm built, dog. My mama ain't raised me like that. That's your relationship with him. I ain't even met the dude yet. I don't even know the dude. They ain't even been around the dude. So I'm not walking into the relationship or whatever when I walk in this locker room, viewing the dude that way. To say to Aaron Rodgers, hey, man, we moving in another direction because I can't be up in a team meeting talking and thinking you're in the back and everybody turning to look at you like you saying a different message. You don't even know Aaron. You ain't even met me, dog.
And we already know. He went through the coaching change with LaFleur. He went through the coaching change mid-season with the Jets. And with the offensive coordinator and all this stuff. And he was, by all reports, great with that.
Oh, that's why I flew out here to meet you. You have not even met me. And you think I'm going to be in the back saying, yeah, his boy don't know what he's talking about. We ain't even met. I flew across the country to meet with you and have a professional meeting about this. This is disrespectful. I agree with Aaron Rodgers. If this is how you felt, you should have just told me that on the phone, big dog. Yes.
So, hopefully, y'all have it clear now. I know this video's gone over 30 minutes now, but share this with people in your friend group that are confused watching mainstream media. Again, it's like you're watching CNN or something. Like, these people on ESPN and Fox with these different shows have these crazy takes, and they didn't even watch the interview. And my comments are open if you want any other opinions or hot takes from the Rodgers interview or from about the Metcalf situation, all that stuff. By the way, it was Metcalf's people that recorded it, and Rodgers gave him permission to put it out, and then DK didn't want to put it out, but his cameraman still put it out there anyway. It wasn't even on Rodgers. So, again, that situation, completely blown out of proportion. Some people just need to not speak if they don't know, because they're just making assumptions. We've learned so much about talking head media in the last month with the Aaron Rodgers situation that half of them don't have any idea what they're talking about. They're literally making stuff up. Literally making stuff up because they don't know. Or they just make an assumption. Anyways, I'm Big Woody Sauce. Thanks for watching. See you next time.